It's a going.
It's going. Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry Committee meeting. I'm Senator Jim Dill, chair of the committee, and we have 4 confirmation hearings this morning. And before we start them, we'll go around and introduce our committee members, and I will start with Senator Black.
Thank you, Chairman Dill. Good morning, everybody. I am Senator Black from Wilton, Maine. I represent all of Franklin County, 4 towns in Kennebec, Belgrade, Mount Vernon, Fayette, and Vienna.
Representative Schofield.
Good morning, Senator Dill and everyone. It's a cold, balmy morning up here in Weld, Maine. I represent House District 112, 17 towns and townships in Franklin and Somerset counties, the cold, snowy high peaks of Maine.
Representative Hall.
Good morning, Representative Randy Hall from Wilton, represent 6 towns in southern Franklin County, District 114.
House Chair O'Neill.
Good morning. My name is Maggie O'Neill and I represent House District 15, which is in Saco.
Representative Osher.
Good morning. I'm Representative Lori Osher. I represent District 123. That's most of Orono, the home of the University of Maine.
Senator Maxman.
Hi there, I'm Chloe Maxman. I represent Senate District 13, which is all of Lincoln County except for Dresden, plus Washington and Windsor.
And Representative Landry.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Dill. I'm Scott Landry. I represent the rest of Franklin County that my 3 compatriots haven't already discussed. I live in Farmington and represent New Sharon and Farmington.
Very good. And as I said, I'm Jim Dill. I represent Senate District number 5, which is Northern Penobscot County, and I live in Old Town. And with that, we'll go ahead and get going with our 4 confirmation hearings. I'm going to go in the order that they were posted, which is Curtis Boland, Dominic LaJoy, Robert Carlton, and Patricia Ianni. So with that, I do have a script that I am obligated to read, and we will do this. And today our clerk, as usual, is Cheryl McGowan, and our analyst is Karen Neto, but for a confirmation hearing, she's usually not present, and I don't see her here this morning. And we probably do have some attendees in the waiting room to comment on the folks today. So with that, this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Curtis C. Boland of Pownell for reappointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. Under the law and joint rules of the legislature, this committee is required to hold this public hearing, recommend the confirmation or denial of the nominee by majority vote of the committee and the members present and voting. As chairs of the committee, we will then send a written notice of the committee's recommendations to the president of the Senate. The committee will hear testimony from and have an opportunity to question the governor or representative, the nominee, and any other person present who wishes to speak for or against the nomination. This meeting is currently being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. This means that anyone who is a participant in the meeting room via Zoom can be seen and also heard if the microphone is unmuted. People testifying cannot be seen or heard until they are called upon to speak. This meeting will be recorded and available to view on the committee's YouTube channel soon after the meeting has concluded. Motion to confirm. Pursuant to Title III, Section 157 of the Maine statutes requires that there be an affirmative motion to recommend the confirmation of the nominee. The chair recognizes Representative O'Neill to make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make that motion.
Okay, it has been moved by Representative O'Neill that we recommend the confirmation of Mr. Curtis C. Bowen of Pownell for reappointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. There should be a copy of the statutory requirements for the position online. And with that, I will go now and call on the representative of the governor. And I think that's Joe Bushy today.
That is me, Senator Dill. Thank you. Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. My name is Joe Bushy, and I'm the Deputy Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination of Curtis Bolin of Pownell for reappointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. The board consists of 7 members appointed by the governor and must include 1 person with practical experience and knowledge regarding the agricultural use of chemicals, 1 person who has practical experience and knowledge regarding the use of chemicals in forest management, 1 person from the medical community, a scientist from the University of Maine system with experience and expertise in integrated pest management, a commercial applicator, and 2 persons appointed to represent the public with a demonstrated interest in environmental protection and no financial interest in activities regulated by the board. Curtis Bolin of Pownell has more than 30 years experience working in environmental science and policy with a focus on wetland, aquatic, and marine ecosystems, including work evaluating risks associated with contaminants in the marine environment. He holds undergraduate and graduate degrees from Stanford University and a PhD in ecology from Cornell. Mr. Bolin has served as the director of the Casco Bay Estuary Partnership since 2008 and has previously held teaching faculty or research appointments at Colby College, Bates College, and the University of Maryland. He has also worked at Trout Unlimited in Augusta and the Chesapeake Bay Foundation in Annapolis, Maryland, and spent time as a legislative assistant in the office of former U.S. Senator Bill Bradley and as a Congressional Science Fellow. In addition to serving 3 terms on the Board of Pesticides Control, Mr. Bolin has been appointed by the City of Portland to serve on its Long Creek Watershed Management District Board and its Sustainable Stormwater Funding Task Force, and has served on the boards of several other nonprofit organizations. Curtis Bolin's extensive knowledge and experience has made him an invaluable member to the board, and on behalf of Governor Mills, I urge you to support his reappointment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Bushy?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, I will recognize Mr. Curtis Bolin to make a statement concerning his nomination.
Thank you, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, members of the committee. I'm happy to be here again for being nominated for another term on the board. Most of what I had submitted in my written testimony mimics a lot of what was just said, so I'm not going to cover that stuff again. I do want to stress that the Estuary Partnership that I currently lead, we take the idea of partnership very seriously, and the core of my work there is figuring out how to work with different groups of folks with interests related to Casco Bay, from clammers to wastewater discharge operators to business people in the region. That partnership is, and the habit of thinking in terms of partnerships and working collaboratively with others is something I bring to my work with the Board of Pesticide Control. And I think is one of the things that makes the board fun for me to be on. I've had a great time learning from all the folks who have been serving on the board with me and from people who come before the board on a regular basis. It's been tremendously interesting over the last now more than 10 years since I was first appointed, getting all that information from people who come before the board and learning about how agriculture operates in the state, how forestry operates in the state, and how this all fits together around this particular set of issues related to pesticides. I have spent, on my time on the board, I have tried very hard to be a scientist first and not be playing a role as an advocate for any particular positions. I've tried to bring my technical expertise both to what I think about as a board member in board meetings, but also in supporting the work of the board staff. And I've had a lot of fun helping them out, designing some of their water quality monitoring programs over the last few years and helping them understand what the implications of some of those results might be. So I've worked both in the public setting of the board hearing room, but also behind the scenes to support the work of the staff, and would love to have the opportunity to continue to do so, and would love to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions, Mr. Bolin? All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you very much.
The chair will now take comments from persons attending the hearing who wish to speak for or against the nomination. Anyone who has a written statement will send that in, and we've already received those. Those who wish to speak in person has already registered with the committee clerk, and I don't think there's anybody that has registered to speak in this case. So I will go on down to, I'm just making sure there's nobody. Cheryl, there's nobody, correct?
Correct, there's no one.
Okay, all public comments haven't been taken. The committee will now proceed as follows. Review any additional written comments on the nomination that has been received by the committee. Vote on the nomination and notify the President of the Senate pursuant to Title III, MRSA, Section 157, the joint rules. The vote must be taken within 35 days from the date of the governor's written notice. And therefore, the hearing for Mr. Curtis C. Bowen of Powell for reappointment to the Board of Pesticides Control is closed. Now we'll talk about the vote. In accordance with the law, the committee may not take the vote on the nomination sooner than 15 minutes after the close of the public hearing, unless all committee members who are present agree. Anyone have any problem with taking the vote now? All right. The pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Curtis C. Bowen, Pownell, for reappointment to the Board of Pesticides Control be confirmed. In accordance with 3 MSRA, Chapter 6, joint rules of the 130th, the vote will be taken by the yeas and nays. Is the committee ready for the question? As they are, please call the roll.
Confirmation of Curtis Bowen. Representative Susan Bernard, absent. Representative Lori Osher.
Support.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood, absent. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Margaret O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Margaret O'Neill, yes. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Bill Pluker, absent. Representative Jeffrey Gifford, absent. Representative David McCray, absent. 8 yes, 5 absent.
All right. The chair now will move forward with it's 8 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative and 0 in the negative. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry that the nomination of Mr. Curtis C. Bowen of Pownell for reappointment to the Board of Pesticides Control be confirmed. Congratulations, Dr. Bowen.
Thank you very much.
All right. The second one on the list is Dominic LaJoy of Van Buren for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. And I see that he's here, and I think this one, Cheryl, you did say that Mr. Flannery was here to testify on behalf of this one, so if you want to let him in. Okay, I'll start shortening my script here, I think, as we start to go through this. The public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor, Mr. Dominic LaJoy of Van Buren, for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. And with that, I will turn to Representative O'Neill for a motion to confirm the appointment.
I make the motion to confirm.
The motion has been made that the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry recommend confirmation of Mr. Dominic J. LaJoy Van Buren for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. I will now call on Joe Bushy.
Good morning once again, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and distinguished members of the committee. I will also start shortening my script. My name is Joe Bushy, and I'm the Deputy Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills. I'm here on behalf of the governor now to speak in support of the nomination of Dominic LaJoy of Van Buren for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. Dominic LaJoy was the owner and operator of Dominic LaJoy and Sons Farm, a potato farm in Aroostook County for 10 years. And in 2007 became owner and president of LaJoy Growers LLC, where he oversees all growing and marketing operations. Before taking over his farm, Mr. LaJoy owned and operated his own long-haul trucking company, hauling produce along the East Coast. While operating his farm and LLC, Mr. LaJoy has earned awards from the Maine Potato Board as Young Farmer of the Year in 2004 and Farm Family of the Year in 2010. Additionally, he has held several state and national positions in the industry, including serving on the Maine Potato Board for 6 years, serving as president of the board in 2007 and 8, and becoming chair of the Maine Potato Growers in 2019. He has also served on the executive committee and as vice president of environmental affairs for the National Potato Council and as the council's president. He's a member of the Environmental Protection Agency's Pesticide Program Dialogue Committee and a member of Van Buren's Budget Committee. Dominic LaJoy's experiences as a farmer and service on industry groups at the state and national level would add a valuable perspective to the Board of Pesticides Control, and I urge you to support his appointment. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Bushy? All right, seeing none. Next, I will recognize Mr. Dominic LaJoy for making a statement concerning his nomination. Welcome.
Thank you, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and members of the committee. First, I'm honored to have been nominated by Governor Mills for this position, and thank you for considering my application today. Having been raised on a family farm, I learned at an early age that the importance of safe and proper pesticide use. I have been reading labels and attending industry meetings and educational conferences since I was 14 years of age. Throughout my career, I have been focused on being involved with pesticide and environmental issues at the highest levels, both within the state and primarily at the national level with EPA. Having traveled extensively across the country through my years with the National Potato Council, I have seen firsthand the best management practices and integrated pest management strategies recommended by universities across the United States. I am always fascinated and intrigued by the ongoing research that is accomplished every year. The science-based research allows farmers to make better decisions in crop management while protecting our valuable resources, but more importantly, keeping our food supply safe and our environment clean. It is my hope to share my experiences and knowledge to the board as we work together to provide the necessary training and education to all pesticide applicators in Maine. Thank you for reviewing the information provided to you in my application. I am happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Are there any questions for Mr. LaJoy? All right, seeing none, thank you. Now we'll go to statements from the floor. So I know we do have one. So when you start, would you please state your name and place of residence? So with that, Mr. Flannery.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and other members of the committee. I'm Don Flannery, the Executive Director of the Maine Potato Board. I live in Glenburn. Our office is in Presque Isle, as most of you know. And you have a letter of support on behalf of the board, Dominic's nomination. And I just wanted to take a minute today. They did a very good job, both Mr. Bossy and Dominic, explaining in his background. But through the last 25 years that I've been here at the Potato Board, I will tell you that you will never find a better board member than you will with Dominic. He has put his time in on any board he's served on. He's listened, he's been fair, And I think it was an excellent nomination on behalf of the governor. And I think that you'll find that he will be a great addition to the Board of Pesticide Control. And I just wanted to take a minute on a personal note to share that with you as a committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Flannery? All right, saying none. Thank you. Having received all of our public comments and written comments, the hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry for Mr. Dominic J. LaJoy of Van Buren for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control is closed. Okay, it's ready to take the vote. Does anyone have any problem with us voting now? All right, seeing none. The pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature that the nomination of Mr. Dominic J. LaJoy of Van Buren for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control be confirmed. Would you please call the roll, Cheryl?
Yes. Confirmation of Dominic LaJoy. Representative Susan Bernard, absent. Representatives Lori Osher.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood, absent. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Margaret O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Margaret O'Neill, yes. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Bill Pluker, absent. Representative Jeffrey Gifford, absent. Representative David McCray, absent. 8 yes, 5 absent.
Okay, 8 members of the committee having voted in affirmative, none in the negative, and 5 absent. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry that the nomination of Mr. Dominic J. LaJoy of Van Buren for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control be confirmed. Congratulations, Mr. LaJoy.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to do this. Okay, with that, this hearing is closed. We'll move on to our next one, which is Robert Carlton of Freeman Township for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. And again, I will keep this short. This is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Mr. Robert S. Carlton of Freeman Township for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. I will therefore ask Representative O'Neill to make that motion.
I make that motion.
It's been moved that the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry recommend confirmation of Mr. Robert S. Carlton of Freeman Township for appointments to the Board of Pesticides Control. With that, Mr. Bushy.
Thank you once again, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and distinguished members of the committee. My name is Joe Bushy, and I'm the Deputy Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills. I'm here now on behalf of the governor to speak in support of the nomination of Robert Carlton of Freeman Township for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. Mr. Carlton's a forestry consultant and owner of Freeman Ridge Forestry, an integrated forest management company in Kingfield. After graduating from Unity College with a degree in environmental science and a concentration in forestry, Mr. Carlton has spent his entire career working in and around the Maine woods. He's a licensed professional forester, Maine tree farm inspector, Maine Forest Service Woods-Wise program stewardship forester, master commercial pesticide applicator, and a USDA NRCS technical service provider. His more than 40 years in the industry make Robert Carlton eminently qualified for this position on the Board of Pesticides Control, and on behalf of Governor Mills, I urge you to support his appointment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Bushy?
Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize Mr. Carlton, Robert S. Carlton, for the purpose of making a statement concerning his nomination.
Thank you. Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and members of the committee. My name is Robert Carlton. There is no E in Carlton. Sorry, I had to correct that. From Freeman Township in Franklin County. And I'm here today to discuss with you my nomination to the Pesticide Control Board. As previously stated, I hold a BS in environmental science. I'm a licensed forester and a commercial master applicator. I've worked in forest management capacity over 40 years, ranging from the management of large tracts of land to forestry consulting with private landowners, which I currently do now. I feel my experience will bring valuable representation to the forest management position on the board, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have for me.
Are there any questions for Mr. Carlton? Representative Hall?
Yes, thank you, Senator Dill. Thank you, Bob, for coming in. I did have one quick question. On your community service background, what is the Franklin County TIF committee? I've never heard of that.
Okay. The unorganized territories in Franklin County received a TIF when the wind power project went in up on the border. The TIF is a tax incremental financing that we see that's exclusive to the unorganized territories. And I serve on that committee that we allocate or accept requests for funding and grants. And I sit on that committee to review those. So it's basically related to the wind power project up on Kibbe Mountain.
Okay, thank you. Just I had never heard of it. That's why I asked. Good. Yep.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you. Now I'll take statements from the floor. I don't believe there are any. Cheryl?
There are, well, nope, there are not.
Okay. All right. Next is back to the concluding statements and the hearing. We've heard all of the comments have been taken. So the hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry for Mr. Robert S. Carlton of Freeman Township for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control is closed. And we'll move on to the vote. Again, does anyone have any objection to voting now? Seeing none. With that, I will go ahead, and the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry recommend to the Senate of the 130th Maine Legislature the nomination of Mr. Robert S. Carlton of Freeman Township for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control be confirmed. Cheryl, would you please call the roll?
Yes, I will. Confirmation on Robert S. Carlton. Representative Susan Bernard, absent. Representative Lori Osher.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood, absent. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Margaret O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Margaret O'Neill, yes. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Bill Pluker, absent. Representative Jeffrey Gifford, absent. Representative David McCray, absent. 8 yes, 5 absent.
8 members of the committee having voted in the affirmative, none in the negative, and 5 absent. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry that the nomination of Mr. Robert S. Carlton of Freeman Township for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control be confirmed. Congratulations, Mr. Carlton.
Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Bob.
All right, with that, we will go on to our final confirmation hearing this morning. And this is a public hearing of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry for the purpose of considering the nomination by the governor of Ms. Patricia M. Yanni of Falmouth for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. And with that, I'll turn to Representative O'Neill for a motion.
I make that motion to move forward.
It has been moved that the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry recommend confirmation of Ms. Patricia, Amiani of, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, of Falmouth for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Bushy.
Thank you once again, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and distinguished members of the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry for the last time today. My name is Joe Bushy, and I'm the Deputy Director of Boards and Commissions for Governor Mills. I'm here today on behalf of the Governor to speak in support of the nomination of Patricia Ianni of Falmouth for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control. Ms. Ianni has more than 40 years of combined education and work experience focused on all areas of environmental science, working with a wide range of individuals, businesses, and governmental agencies. She's a graduate of the University of Connecticut with a degree in natural resource conservation and the University of Maine Law School. For more than a decade before attending UMaine Law, she worked as an environmental technician for the Bureau of Land Management, an environmental scientist at companies in New Jersey, Georgia, and Maine. After graduating law school, she spent 2 years as an independent consultant providing environmental regulatory support for Woodard and Curran before joining the environmental department at Beryl Dana. In 2003, she joined TD Bank as an environmental risk consultant, evaluating projects for their environmental impact, possible site contamination, impacts on neighboring properties, and other issues. Ms. Ianni's extensive knowledge and experience will make her an excellent member of the board, and on behalf of Governor Mills, I urge you to support her appointment. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions?
And I also hope I was pronouncing her name at least close to accurately.
And with that, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
The chair now recognizes Ms. Patricia Amiani for the purpose of making a statement concerning her nomination.
Good morning, Senator Dill, Representative O'Neill, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. My name is Patty Yanni. I am a resident of Falmouth, and I come to you today as a first-time nominee to serve on the Maine Board of Pesticides Control. I am by training and practice an environmental scientist and regulatory specialist, recently retired from a career spanning almost 40 years in the environmental field. As Joe just said, I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Connecticut in natural resource conservation and a law degree from the University of Maine School of Law. As part of my undergraduate degree in natural resource conservation, I studied the biological sciences and the natural sciences in depth, and all of these gave me a deep understanding of the interconnected nature of ecosystems and their functions. Most importantly, my education provided me with an appreciation of the cumulative impacts human activity can have on these ecosystems over time and across geographies. Early in my career, I was able to directly apply these academic studies to my work, first with the U.S. Forest Service and later with the U.S. Bureau of Land Management, both located in Utah at the time. The understanding of the impacts of uncontrolled hazardous waste sites evolved in the late 1970s and early 1980s. And with the passage of the first Superfund legislation, I began working as a US EPA contractor with a team of scientists across the country. Our primary task was to identify hazardous waste sites across the country and evaluate them in an effort to develop in 1982 the first set of Superfund sites that were then placed on the US EPA National Priority List to allow funding for further investigation and ultimately remediation and delisting of these sites. In 1987, I was fortunate to relocate to Maine, where I spent the next 32 years working as a consulting environmental scientist and regulatory specialist. During this time, I worked as a senior scientist and project manager for EC Jordan, where I was assisting private and government clients with site remediation and regulatory compliance. As more complex environmental statutes and regulations were enacted, which increasingly impacted my clients, my consulting work required a deeper understanding of the law. This shift in the landscape ultimately led me to pursue a law degree mid-career. After completing law school, I worked as an environmental scientist, regulatory and compliance specialist for Maine's oldest law firm, Farrell & Dana. During this portion of my career, my work primarily involved assisting clients with understanding the regulatory framework governing their businesses and helping them obtain the necessary permits and effectively and efficiently achieving compliance with the law. In this phase of my career, I worked with public utilities, mining companies, manufacturing operations, individual business owners, and private landowners. During the last 15 years of my career, I served as an environmental risk officer at a large local bank where I conducted environmental due diligence to help ensure that the loans we made to our commercial customers, which were secured by collateral that was primarily real estate, that these would not pose an unacceptable risk to the bank or to our customers. Both my education and my law degree and my subsequent career experiences have allowed me ample opportunity to hone my skills as an environmental regulatory specialist and risk manager. Throughout my career, my work has allowed me to develop a comprehensive understanding of environmental laws and regulations at all the federal, state, and local levels, which governed my clients' actions. Inherent in this work was ensuring the protection of both humans and environmental receptors. While living in Maine during the last 35 years, I've also enjoyed many opportunities to apply my technical science knowledge in service of my community. This has included my completion of the 15-week Master Gardener program with the University of Maine Cooperative Extension, as well as my completion of the Master Yardscaping training program. These programs, through them, I learned to appreciate the benefits of gardening with minimal reliance on added pesticides, fertilizer, or water. Subsequently, as part of my Master Gardener volunteer service requirement, I was able to spend many years giving yardscaping presentations and trainings to a variety of groups around the state. These presentations were designed to help citizens adopt gardening practices while reducing their impacts on the environment. Ultimately, through this service, I was able to encourage and engage with members of my community to help broaden their understanding of prudent land stewardship. I've also had the honor of serving on the board of directors of Friends of Casco Bay for almost 16 years, and through that service, I continue to enjoy helping them promote the principles of yardscaping and gardening practices that do no harm to the environment and could potentially improve the health of our Casco Bay ecosystem. Early in my career, I was invited by the board of Habitat for Humanity of Greater Portland, interestingly, to join their board and to help them conduct phase 1 environmental site assessments on the properties they were being donated for use in residential development. In 2008 and 2009, I was honored to serve on the Turf Best Management Practices Committee. This was a small, diverse group convened by Gary Fish of the Maine Board of Pesticides Control for the purpose of developing and publishing a guide for best management practices for the application of turf pesticides and fertilizer. From 2009 to 2014, I also had the privilege of serving on the Maine Integrated Pest Management Council under the leadership of Dr. Kathy Murray and Senator James Dill. I served on the IPM Council in the role of public member, where I was able to share my experience gained during my career and community work in Maine as an environmental scientist and avid gardener. Through this experience, I gained a deeper understanding of the management of pests by applying a hierarchy of techniques and relying on the use of pesticides as the last resort. Similar to the public role I served during my 2 terms on the IPM Council, I have now been asked to serve on the Maine Board of Pesticides Council as a public member. As you are aware, the statutory requirements amended during the last legislative session now require that the board of Pesticide Control include 2 members appointed to represent the public who must have a demonstrated interest in environmental protection, may not have a financial interest in activities regulated by this board, and may not be an individual who has been or is licensed, certified, or given a permit in this state or any other state for activities regulated by the board. Keeping in mind this legislative requirement for the public members of the BPC, I view my charge on this board to include providing a voice for the environment. That means both human and non-human receptors. I believe I understand the challenges of the work of this board, both in terms of the preparation required for the meetings and the complex and often difficult decisions which this board regularly faces. I have attended virtually several meetings of the BPC, and I've reviewed the often voluminous documents in the board packages, and I admit I am somewhat daunted by the challenge. I suspect I will have a steep learning curve, and I assume that I will need to turn to the other board members and staff of the BPC for advice and counsel. Ultimately, I hope to listen and learn from those experts as well as from those impacted by the regulations and decisions of this board. That said, I am committed to fully and faithfully upholding the statutory requirements imposed on the BPC members and will approach this work with intention and diligence, as I have done throughout my professional career and public service commitments. In summary, I hope you come away understanding that throughout my career and community service, I have been deeply committed to finding solutions to the environmental challenges facing our community. I have tried to achieve this through the understanding of sound science, the use of technology, and the application of appropriate public policy measures. Whether advising a client on how best to comply with environmental requirements or assisting a community organization in risk mitigation and advocacy, I have always been committed to protecting the environment first. Fortunately, this approach has usually resulted in benefits to both my clients and the planet around us. And in closing, I hope that my understanding of the natural sciences and my experience in solving environmental challenges will guide me to successfully carry out the duties of this position on the Maine Board of Pesticides Control. Thank you for your time and consideration of my nomination. I'm happy to answer or address any questions or concerns you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, thank you. Moving on to statements from the floor, we do have our written comments. I do not see anybody that appears to be here to testify. Cheryl, no, there's no one, okay. So we will move on to concluding statement, and that is that all public comments having been taken, the hearing by the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry for Ms. Patricia M. Yanni of Falmouth for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control is now closed. We are ready to take the vote. Does anyone have any problem with taking the vote now? I don't see anyone. Okay, the pending question before the committee is that the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry recommended that Senate of the 130th Maine legislate the nomination of Ms. Patricia M. Yanni of Falmouth for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control be confirmed. Would you please call the roll, Cheryl?
Confirmation of Patricia Yanni. Representative Susan Bernard, absent. Representative Lori Osher.
Yes.
Representative Lori Osher, yes. Representative Thomas Schofield.
Yes.
Representative Thomas Schofield, yes. Representative Joseph Underwood, absent. Representative Scott Landry.
Yes.
Representative Scott Landry, yes. Representative Randall Hall.
Yes.
Representative Randall Hall, yes. Representative Margaret O'Neill.
Yes.
Representative Margaret O'Neill, yes. Senator James Dill.
Yes.
Senator James Dill, yes. Senator Russell Black.
Yes.
Senator Russell Black, yes. Senator Chloe Maxman.
Yes.
Senator Chloe Maxman, yes. Representative Bill Pluker, absent. Representative Jeffrey Gifford, absent. Representative David McCray, absent. 8 yes, 5 absent.
8 members of the committee have voted in the affirmative, none in the negative, and 5 absent. It is the vote of the Joint Standing Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry that the nomination of Ms. Patrick M. Yanni of Falmouth for appointment to the Board of Pesticides Control be confirmed. Congratulations. All right, with that, that concludes all of our confirmation hearings, and I believe that's everything for the day. Is that correct, Cheryl? Do we have anything else?
We do not.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. Wow, I was right. I'm sure we'll make up for it, unfortunately, in the future with many longer days. So can I have a motion to adjourn? It's been moved, seconded, and all in favor? None opposed? Thank you. You can stop the streaming, and congratulations to everybody.
Okay.